All right, and we are live. Hello, HTC, and welcome to yet another weekly mastermind. I'm going to do a quick mic check, so let me know in the comments if you can hear me loud and clear. Now, also make sure if you do comment within the chat that you are sending it to everyone. So make sure it says all panelists and attendees. That way fellow brothers and sisters are able to see what you put in the chat. And also a quick reminder, if you have any questions during the mastermind, we have provided a Q&A section at the end. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A section within Zoom. Also, when you do put in a question, make sure you put your first and last name so we know who to address. I just see there is quite a little problem with the chat. Okay. All right. Yes, everyone is here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, as I said, if you have any questions during the mastermind, please put them in the Q&A section that we have provided for you at the end of the mastermind. And also, I know that I don't really have to say this, but it doesn't hurt to be reminded once in a while. If you do put in a question, try to think of your fellow brothers and sisters and try to come up with a question that not only would benefit you, but the whole community. Now, if that is all clear, then let's put a yes in the comments. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Now, this week was your graduation class. Now, a big congratulations to you for getting this far. Now, if you could describe in one word, how do you feel after these 7 weeks? What would that be? Now, try to use one word. I'm looking at the chat. Closer? Yes. Mind-blowing. All right. Now, before we start off this mastermind, make sure you turn off all distractions. If you have to, place a hanger on your door that says keep out or do not disturb. Get yourself in that high ticket state of mind with your pen and paper ready, because tonight you will discover how you can get everything you want without sabotaging yourself. Now, if you are excited and ready to go, then let's put ready in the chat. Ready, ready, yes. Now, in a moment, I will introduce to you your coach for this evening, Sam Hong. And when I was talking to Sam, there was one word that kept popping into my head: determination. Now, in a moment, you will exactly know, or hear actually, why that is. He was and still is very determined to achieve all that he sets his mind to. And that is why I would like to ask you, how determined are you to make this work? On a scale from 1 to 10, let me know in the comments, how determined are you? I see a lot of 10s. Awesome. Now, we all have two options. Either you're going to sit by the sidelines and watch other people achieve the things you wanted to achieve, or you're going to get out there. No matter what the path looks like, you will get it done. And I'm curious to know, what path will you choose? Will you sit by the sidelines, or are you so determined that you will make this work? And as I said, when I was talking to Sam and he was sharing his story with me, the one word that kept popping into my head was determination. And he actually reminded me of this particular man. Now, his name is Glenn Cunningham. And at the age of 8 years old, his legs got very badly burned in an explosion. And from the waist down, he had no motor ability whatsoever. Now, the doctors predicted he might never walk normally again. However, this boy, at 8 years old, had a strong sense of determination, and he made up his mind that he would be able to walk again. Now, when he wasn't in bed, he was sitting in a wheelchair. And one day, his mother wheeled him out into the yard. Now, this day, instead of sitting there, he threw himself from the chair, pulled himself across the grass, and with great effort, he raised himself up on the fence. Now, bit by bit, he dragged himself along the fence, determined that he would walk. And he started to do this every day. There was nothing more he wanted than to develop life in his legs. After 2 years of daily massages, his iron persistence, and his resolute determination, he did develop the ability to stand up again, then to walk by himself, and then to run. Now, a few years later in Madison Square Garden, this young man who was not expected to ever walk again, who could never hope to run, this determined young man, Dr. Glenn Cunningham, he set the world record for the world's fastest mile that stood for 3 years. And here's a quote from Glenn Cunningham. In running, it is man against himself, the cruelest of opponents. The other runners are not the real enemies. His adversary lies within him, in his ability with brain and heart to master himself and his emotions. Now, whatever you want to create in your life is yours for the making. As long as you desire it enough and allow your will to guide you, you can have and be whatever your heart desires. So let me ask you this. Who is the one person that can put limits on whatever it is you want to achieve? That's right, ourselves. So I want to ask you, how bad do you want this? How bad do you need this? And how far are you willing to go? Now, in a moment, Sam will come on, and he is going to cover how you can get everything you want without sabotaging yourself in the process. Now, for those of you who were here 2 weeks ago, you already heard Sam talk and share about his story, about his journey. But for those of you who weren't there, Sam is a fellow brother from season 6. And before HTC, he already had a fairly good job that paid him decent money. But once he joined HTC, he never looked back. He overcame his challenges, his struggles, and is now the #1 closer within the internal sales teams for Team Dialogue. 2 weeks ago, he had shared that he closed over $580,000. Now, up to today, he has closed a total of just around $717,000, all in less than a year since he had his first boom. Can we give a boom for that in the comments? Yes. And tonight he is here to answer all your questions, and he is willing to go deep on the subject. Now, who's excited for today's mastermind? Let's put Sam his name within the comments, and without further ado, let's bring with us Sam Hong. Now, Sam, thank you for being here with us tonight. How is your day been going so far?
Thanks, Dana. I mean, it's been amazing. I've been excited I was looking forward to this. Yeah, I mean, I came on 2 weeks ago A lot of people told me they got a lot of golden nuggets, but so I had to, I had to prepare myself. I had to step up and be prepared to give more value, right? I don't want to just share my story again, but really, really make an impact and give value to everyone so, we can all reach our goals. So
Yes,
I'm
definitely.
excited.
And I'm excited as well, Sam. Now, before we start off this mastermind, I want to see who is still with us. If you are still paying attention, and the way we're going to do that is by playing the game Two Truths and a Lie. Now, in a moment, Sam will tell you two things that are true about him and one that is a lie. So it's up to you to figure out what that lie is. Now, Sam has already done this 2 weeks ago, but he really wanted to do it again. So this time he has made 3 new sentences that may or not be true about himself. So if you think that number 2 is a lie, just drop number 2 within the comments. And if it's number 3, just drop number 3 in the comments. All right? Sounds good? All
So
right.
voting already.
Yeah, they are going already. Sam didn't say anything yet. Okay, but Sam, if you can go ahead and...
Okay, so two truths and a lie. All right. So number one, and actually all three of these, it's kind of I had to come up with new ones, so it's all related to my hobbies. Okay. So number one is that I love to sing, and I've won awards for singing on stage. I love going to karaoke. I've won awards on stage, like talent shows or local performances, etc. Number two, I used to b-boy. In case you guys don't know what that is, it's breakdancing. When I was younger, and I was part of a breakdance crew with my friends when I was younger. Okay, so that's number two. And number three is I grew up playing soccer or football in other parts of the world and basketball. And I was on the varsity soccer team and the varsity basketball team in high school. All right.
Okay, so the first one, he loved singing and won awards for singing on stage. The second one is he used to break dance. And the third one, he grew up playing soccer and basketball. What do you think it is? I see a lot of, it's a little bit over over the place, everything. A lot of threes, ones, two. I think it will be the same as 2 weeks ago.
It's pretty spread out. Sounds hard. Okay, so people don't think I play sports, or either I don't sing or I don't dance. One of those three. All right, you want me to share?
Yeah, I think the most voted was number 3. So they don't think you grew up playing soccer and basketball.
Okay, so number three, I love playing sports. I play all kinds of sports, but my favorite sport is soccer and basketball. And soccer I played my whole life, middle school team, high school JV, varsity. Basketball, I was on the varsity basketball team. I also was on the baseball team. So I love playing sports. So that's the truth. And then I see a lot of ones. So I do love singing. I'm not gonna say I'm like, oh, really great or anything, but I just love singing. And I have gone on stage and won first place, won awards. So number two was the lie. I don't know how to break that.
Number
Never.
2.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of people. All right, now I see everyone is a little bit warmed up. So that makes it a perfect time to dive deeper into today's masterminds. Now, 2 weeks ago, Sam shared more about his own story, but today he has prepared something special for you. So make sure you are ready to go, because he is willing to go deep on the subject and to give you the most value possible. And let's be honest, you do not want to miss that, right? So make sure you take a lot of notes, and if you have any questions, make sure to put them in the Q&A section within Zoom, because after the mastermind, Sam will try to answer all of your questions. Now, I'm excited. I hope you're excited as well. So let's not wait any longer. Sam, take it away.
Okay, so thank you, Dana. And again, everyone, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be invited again. I want to share a lot of value to you guys. I shared my personal story, my journey in becoming a high ticket closer, becoming a high performer. I shared this 2 weeks ago. I think a lot of you guys, I recognize the names. You guys are back here every week, so that's great. If you haven't watched that, I suggest you go back, listen to the recording if you missed out, because I did share a lot of golden nuggets. And today, I want to share even more lessons on how to get everything you want in your life. And, I'm going to talk about having the right mindset. If you guys know me, it's all about the mindset. And I love the story that Donna shared about the runner, how he said, you are responsible for your own emotions and your thoughts, right? Because with the thought, it's the most powerful thing. It's the thought, the idea you have, the thought you have in your head. That's what causes your feelings. Right? A lot of people, they say, oh, what's the difference between emotions and thinking? But in the end, that thought is what causes your feelings, and that feeling is what causes your action or inaction to do something or don't do something, and that's the result, right? So I want to dive deeper into it. I'm going to talk about the mindset, but also give you practical steps that I have used and hopefully you can implement in your life immediately so you can get closer and closer to your goals, whatever they may be. So I'm going to say I'll be very real. I'm going to be very straightforward. Some things, some ideas you might not feel comfortable or good about, because in the end, you have to be very honest with yourself and you have to look inward. But I really want to use this time I have with you guys here to really provide value and share as much as possible. So are you guys ready to get started?
Are you ready? Yes, they are ready.
Make sure you guys are taking a lot of notes. I have so much to cover. I don't even know if I have enough time, but we'll just go right in. So first thing I want to start off is you can get everything you want if you want it badly enough. So let me rephrase that. Everything you want in your life that you don't currently have, it's because you don't want it bad enough. And I really want that to sink in. I told you I'll be real with you. And I bet a lot of people here right now are already thinking, what is this nonsense? I know I want this, I know I want that, but I don't have it. And I understand. It was confusing for me when I first heard this too, but it is really deep. So let me explain that again. Everything you want in your life that you don't currently have, it's because you don't want it badly enough. Everyone, they say they want to be financially independent, they want to make more money, quit their jobs, be their own boss, or even, lose weight, be popular, have amazing relationships, travel more. I mean, whatever, all those goals, right? And I see this all around me. Even in our internal sales team, I see so many closers who are struggling to get results, closers who are not making enough commissions, while there are others who are producing significant results and income for themselves. So why is that? Why can some people do it, but some people, they say they want it, but they struggle and they just can't seem to reach those goals. So think of the goals you have for yourself currently. Whether it's, I need to get that first boom, or I want to find an influencer, I want to work with Sifu. It can be anything. Think of those goals. And, I bet all of you will say you really, really want to achieve it. But why haven't you yet? Going back to what I said earlier, it's because you don't want it badly enough. And for most of us, we want the reward. We want the outcome. But the thing is, we like the feeling that we think we will get from achieving it. So basically, we like the idea of it. Think of like New Year's resolutions, all over the world, right? There's anywhere in the world, everyone, New Year's, they're like, okay, New Year's resolution. Their resolutions are what they want to accomplish. But, what do they say? 80% fail in the first month. So what is going on here? the the truth is that although everybody wants to accomplish all those goals, most people do not want to go through the pain and suffering that comes along with it. You know, you you want to lose weight, you want to be healthy, but you're not willing to actually get off the couch and put hours in the gym, suffer through that soreness, give up those sweets, give up soda, whatever it is. It's like you want to lose weight, but you prefer to eat the junk food, the dessert, go out and drink that alcohol, you know, ruin your diet. It's you rather do that. That's what you want more, even though in your head you say that you want to lose weight. So let's take, making more money, being your own boss. Yeah, I'm on calls every day, and no, not a single person say they don't want more money or they don't want more freedom. But they're not willing to suffer through working 60, 80, 100 hours every week. Take those risks. Starting a business, it's all about risk taking. And I always say that I say this to prospects. I say having a job is the easy part. Most people say, "Oh, I don't want to be in my job. I want to quit." But having a job is the easy part. You clock in, you do what you're told, you clock out, you get paid every 2 weeks or every month. You go home, chill, not think about work. Next day, you repeat. That's actually the easy part. When you say, I want to be financially independent, I want to start my own business, I don't want to have a boss. That's scary. There's a lot of things that come with it, a lot of sacrifices that come with it. But if you really, really wanted it, you would do whatever it takes, right? So this applies to anything. You say you really want to produce results. You want to get that boom. You want to make that commission. But again, it's more the idea of it. The focus is not on becoming the best damn closer you can be and succeeding at actually closing. That's not what you really want. You have to be honest to yourself. Maybe you're doing this because of the money, the lifestyle, which itself is not bad, but that's the result, that's the effect, right? So if the goal is, oh, I need to make money, I need to get this much closes, I need to hit this quota. I mean, if that's your main goal of being on internal sales or working with an influencer or even being in HTC, you are going to struggle with actually producing results. Again, that's the outcome. That's the result of being able to be a great closer, constantly improve and producing the result, giving the value, providing the value to the prospects, to the customers. So if you really want to succeed, and I'm talking about really want badly enough to succeed and master the skill of closing, what does your action say? You would be constantly showing up to class. You guys are here weekly on the mastermind, and this, well, we have less than 100 people out of thousands that could have come. But it's constantly showing up, keep learning from Sifu. Even if you graduated, you keep role playing, you get feedback from people who are high performers, who are good. But even just actually picking up that phone and making those extra calls, even when you don't feel like it, right? Because if you really want something badly, it's not about, oh, but this excuse, that excuse, but it's really, you just do it because you have to, right? Everything is a choice. And in the end, when you choose to do something or not do something, you do it because you prefer that. Instead of saying, instead of just, oh yeah, I really want it. Of course I really want it. But in the end, it's what Sifu says all the time. How you do anything is how you do everything. And you have to be honest with yourself. The truth is, we are all humans, right? But us humans, we are biologically designed to know how to get what we want and what we need if we really want it bad enough. We are biologically designed to do that. We are biologically designed to survive. So if it's something that's a necessity and something that to me it's, I need to do this, I want to do this, we can figure it out. So when you want it bad enough, it exists with absolute clarity in your mind. And when you want it bad enough, that path will reveal itself. And even when that path is just uncertain or it's challenging, extremely challenging, we push forward and we keep fucking going because quitting is not even an option. Like we all learn, we become resourceful to make it happen. Yeah. So that's what I mean. How badly do I want this goal, this thing? Why haven't I achieved it? It boils back down to, it means that you don't want it bad enough. Putting in that work, putting in that time, being resourceful. I like, one of the sayings I hate is like, oh, I tried my best. I hate hearing that because it's not true. Because there's always more you can do. There are probably like 50, 100 other options you could have done. Right. So then you can't say, because the moment you say, I tried my best, then you're saying there's no other options. Then your mind is already giving up on yourself that you can achieve that. So the first question I want you to write down and answer to yourself honestly is, what are the pain and struggles you're willing, in fact, you want to sustain? Let me repeat that. What are the pain and struggles you are willing and you want to sustain? Remember, going back, whether it's losing weight, whether it's making more money, is it, yeah, I really want it. Yeah, I'm sacrificing, but I need this. I need to spend time with this. I need to focus on this. It's comfort, right? But when you ask yourself, not your goals, just, oh, what I want, but what are the pains and struggles? Everyone can talk about goals. Everyone can dream and talk about all the good stuff. I'm going to achieve this. I'm going to achieve that. But what are the true pain and struggles you are willing to, you want to sustain to get there? So I'll get back to that question in a little bit. So now let's talk about our goals and being completely clear on what we want, right? Because I heard the saying, most people have so many things they don't want, but they do not know what they actually want. They don't have a clear exact goal, clear exact picture of what they want. Even saying, oh, I want to lose weight, or I want to make more money, that's not clear exactly what they want. It's more of, well, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be in my job. I don't want this, right? So the first thing is you have to be completely clear on what you really want. So let me share a quick story and an exercise through the story. So some of you guys may have heard of it. So you guys know who Warren Buffett is, right? You know who Warren Buffett? He's the richest man in the world, the smartest investor. I mean, he's successful, definitely. So Warren Buffett has a pilot, or had a pilot, his personal airplane pilot. And this pilot, he flew for Warren Buffett for 10 years, I think. It was like a decade. And he even flew for, like several different US presidents before. So I'm sure he's good at his job. He's good at flying, right? But so one day, Warren Buffett, I think it was like, he approached his pilot and he said, you've been with me for 10 years now. And, like closely, you've been with me. You've been, during my meetings and, while I'm on the plane and on these calls and everything. But the fact that you're still working for me after all these years, it tells me that I'm not doing my job. You should be out going after more of your goals, more of your dreams. So his pilot he realized that. He's like, yeah, I do love my job, but I don't feel like I achieved all my career goals, all my life goals that I wanted to. So can you help me, Mr. Buffett? Right? So Warren was like, okay, take out a piece of paper. So this is a story, but I mean, I want you to write down the instructions. We don't have time to do the exercise in the moment. But basically what he asked was, list out 25 things you want to achieve in the next 5 years. Right? And this can be however you want to do it. You can do 5 years, you can do 1 year, 1 month, any time frame. So just freely list out everything you want to achieve, all your goals you want to achieve within that time frame, whatever you set it to. And he said, list out 25 things. So the pilot decided, okay, like he took some time, he thought about it, he wrote them down. Now he had his top 25 goals. So then step 2, Warren Buffett asked him to look at his list, go through it. Now pick the top 5 goals out of those 25. Circle them. Circle the top 5 most important goals, the things that, it's just most important to him and that you want more than anything else in the world. We also call this the domino effect, right? What are those big goals that you want to achieve first that will help help you achieve the others? It's more like a domino effect. Because you have so many things you want, but you have to get clarity. So circle the top 5 most important out of that 25. So now the pilot has 2 parts, right? The 5 top list and the 20 that's not circled. So Warren Buffett asked him, okay, so what's your plan? You circled your top 5. You have the 20 that's not circled. What's your plan? So the pilot said, these 5 are the most important things in my life right now. I'm gonna start working on them right away. I'll start tomorrow. Actually, I'll start tonight, right? So the pilot started to explain his plan, who he's gonna, use to help him, how he's gonna be resourceful, when he expects to complete each item, each task. So then Warren Buffett asked him, okay, so your second list, what about the 20 other things on your list that you didn't circle? What is your plan for completing those? And the pilot said, well, the top 5 is my primary focus. It's the most important, but the other 20 are important too. I really want them. So I'm going to work on those, here and there when I have time, when I see fit, and while I'm getting through the top 5. They're not as urgent, but I'm going to give my effort. Okay, that sounds fair, right? But what Warren Buffett said here was, no, you've got it wrong. Everything you didn't circle just became your avoid at all cost list. No matter what, these 20 things that you didn't circle get no attention from you until you've succeeded with your top 5. So what's the lesson here, right? It's the same thing. Do it yourself, right? What are the top things you really, really want bad enough? And it's really about the power of focus and elimination. It's actually simplifying, not having so many things you need to do, but just focusing on what's most important to you. Going back to what are the things that you wanted badly enough, right? And you guys know the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule. 80% of the 20% of the effort brings 80% of the result. Basically, it's the same concept here. Warren Buffett, he did 25 and 5, but it's the same thing, And if you list out your goals, and let's say you can't get 25, you have 10, then pick the top 2. If you have 15, pick the top 3, right? Do what you have to do. But again, that's the same thing. What is the main focus? Where are you gonna put your sacrifice, put your energy, just put your mindset into and the action into? And everything else is, you don't get to it until you complete those. So I want to say, it's not just what you aren't doing that's the problem. It's also everything you are doing that is not aligned to your goals that are stopping you from achieving your goals. We spend so much time that sometimes we don't even know. It's so subconscious. We're spending so much time doing everything else that's actually getting us further away from our goals. It's crazy how much people I hear say, I don't have enough time, or like, what do I need to do? I just don't have enough time. I work 40 hours a week and I have to go to the gym. I have, dinner and I have to rest. I need 8 hours of sleep. I mean, we all have the same amount of time. Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Sifu Dan, me, you, we all have the same exact amount of hours, amount of time. So what's the difference? What are the time wasters, the energy suckers, the bullshit you're dealing with in your life that is not helping you move closer and closer toward your goals? When you simplify your life, you can focus your energy and your actions on your main priorities, right? And these goals, again, I don't have to go over SMART goals and everything. Set achievable goals, set goals that are specific, have those milestones. I talked about this 2 weeks ago. It's not just about the end process, but it's really enjoying the process, right? Enjoying the journey. So set those goals that you want it so bad that not just you're going to struggle, but you're going to enjoy that struggle. So you have those top 5, top 3, whatever goals you circle for each of those goals. Going back to that question earlier, what are the pain and struggles I am willing and I want to sustain to achieve this goal? Each of these goals. You have to turn those wants into needs, right? That's basically what I'm saying. It has to be needs. Just wanting something, yeah, it's nice to have, but you're basically saying I can live without it. Yeah, like I would, I want a 6-pack, but doesn't really matter. Like, you're not willing to go through it. So just wanting something is not fucking enough. If you want to succeed, you want to get to that next level, you must make them your fucking needs at all costs. So how do you do that? How do you make it a need, not a want? How do you make it a must, not a should? And how do you make it a will, not a hope? Right? It's the language, right? Don't say I want to, I should, I hope. It's I need to, I must, and I will. So first step in making anything a need, not just a want, is what is your why? You have to be clear on your why. And when I was leading the part of the team in internal sales, I actually gave this assignment to every single closer in my team. Because people were struggling, people were getting burnt out, people were frustrated. So I actually gave this assignment to submit to me personally, and it's the why assignment. And I'm not gonna go through every question, but it's basically I asked them to write like a letter, like an essay, right? Not just answering the question, but like, what is their deep why? Why did they join HTC in the first place? Why are they on this team, the internal sales team, and closing for Sifu? Why are they truly a high ticket closer? Why are you committed to your goals? Why do you refuse to give up? Ever give up? Why will you do whatever it takes to achieve your goals? What is that pain and struggle you're willing to sustain to achieve these goals? So I kind of gave them this kind of like prompts, and I told them, take some time, write it, rewrite it, keep rewriting it, and really go deep. Be honest with yourself. And once they were done with that, I said, print it out, have it in front of you, so you're always reminded and clear when you have doubts or when you get your lower self, it comes up. You have it in front of you. You read that, it moves you emotionally. Oh, you know you're gonna do it. You're not gonna make excuses after you read that, right? So that's number one. You have to be completely honest and clear about your why, answering those questions. And the next thing is you have to be excited about the outcome. You say you want something, but if you're not truly excited about that, it's not going to be a need. It's, again, excited about the outcome, but more importantly, excited about the process, the journey. When you answer, what are the pain and struggles I'm willing to, if I say, what, I'm going to put in 100 hours of work and training to really continue learning and get my results. It's like, oh man, how do I do 100 hours? It's not that. It's, wow, I am excited. Yeah, I'm going to give up some social life. I'm going to give up, other time suckers, but I'm excited because I'm excited to put in those hours, to put in that work, and to achieve that goal. So you have to really feel it. It's emotional, right? You have to just feel it in your body when you think about that, when you have that mind. It's not just saying it. So not just knowing in your head, but really feel it. And also, what are the consequences? You get that emotional consequences. If I don't do this, what's the consequences? Do I really want to be like that? Do I really want to be in that situation? Do I want to look back and regret and think, what if I just sacrificed? What if I just jumped and took that action? You don't want to look back and regret that. So, have that emotional attachment to yourself, to that goal, so that you're willing to put in the work and make it a need, not just a want. It's what Sifu says in class about the gun to the head mentality, right? You say, but I can't do this, I can't do it. Imagine if there was a gun to your head or a gun to your family's head, and they say you have 30 days to come up with this or achieve this. Oh, you're gonna do it. Whatever it takes, you're gonna do it. Right? So that's that emotional attachment. You're not attached to the result, but it's a need. Like that's the focus, that's the drive you have to achieve that. So now that we have your deep why and you're also clear on your most important goals from that exercise, you make them a need, and now you're willing to do whatever it takes. No fucking excuses. Who is committed to do these exercises later? Who is committed to do this?
Let's see in the comments. All right, there are a lot of them. Everyone. Awesome.
All right. So I'm going to go to the next section. That was just the first section. Wow. How are we doing it on time, Dana? I feel like I went too long.
You still have a good amount of time. And I just want to ask for everyone here, are you getting this? Is this sinking in? Yes, yes. Good. Are you writing down notes? All right. You can go ahead, Sam.
All right. All right. So again, we went on our why, your most important goals, making them a need, willing to do whatever it takes, wanting to go through that struggle, wanting to go through that pain, not having excuses. So now we'll go to the second part, which is make achieving and going through challenges part of your identity. Okay? You want it to be part of your identity. Yes, the first step, it was a lot of actions. You can do it, but how do you make that your identity so that you keep pushing through? Right? You said you want it badly enough. But, I shared this 2 weeks ago. It's really taking responsibility for everything. Taking responsibility for everything. Be the cause, not the effect. When we say, oh, but this happened to me, or but because of this, because of that, you're victimizing. Obviously, no victim, no opinion, but you're victimizing. You're saying you're the effect, that something caused you to feel this way, something caused you to think this way, instead of you being the cause and you creating the effect. So one thing I do is, like, one of my morning ritual is my affirmations. And I'm not going to go deep into affirmations. Everyone knows, it's effective. It's training your subconscious. Sifu has affirmation that he shares with us, but I have my own affirmations too. I have my own list that I read, I listen, I just feel it. And I'm just gonna share 2 of the affirmations that I use. Who wants to know 2 of the affirmations I use?
Who wants to know? I want to know.
Yeah, so this is my 2 of my affirmations that I use that I think is really powerful in taking responsibility. So first one is, I am more than I appear to be. All the world's strength and power rest inside me. I'm gonna repeat that. I am more than I appear to be. All the world's strength and power rest inside me. So I'm saying I have the power, I have the control. And I'm not just limited to what I believe, right? I am more than I appear to be. All the world's strength and power rests inside me. Yep. The second affirmation I have is, I am the only problem I will ever have, and I am the only solution. Again, that's taking responsibility. Of course you're going to be resourceful. Of course there's problems that are happening. Of course there are solutions that you need to go reach out. But again, are you the one being resourceful? Are you figuring out the solution? I'm not saying by yourself, but you taking responsibility. And if there's any problems, are you blaming those problems? Are you being a victim again? Or are you saying, I am the only problem, so I am going to make it, I'm going to solve this, I'm the solution? Okay, I'm the only problem I will ever have, and I am the only solution. So I think those 2 are very powerful. What do you think, Dana? Do you like those?
Yes, those are very powerful. And I actually have some affirmations of my own as well, because as you say, you have to look at things that really could help you, really could benefit you in your life, because not everyone is the same. So
Right. So, I mean, it's having the identity. It's you gotta train your mind, right? You gotta train yourself, especially if you're habitually, been not doing that. It's a process, and that's fine. But are you improving? Are you constantly growing? So the first thing is, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. If you can't be painfully honest with yourself, then you're not gonna even trust yourself. You can't even trust yourself if you're not honest with yourself. How do you expect others to trust you? Right? It's when you lie to yourself, when you are not vulnerable with yourself, your integrity goes down. The integrity is not about being honest to others, and you say, oh yeah, I'm very honest, I'm very direct, I'm very straightforward, but it's really being self-aware and being honest to yourself. I think the quote is like, integrity is what you do when no one's watching. That's integrity, not what you do when everyone else is watching. So you gotta be brutally honest with yourself that it's painful. And Sifu gave us those assignments, right? In week 1, week 2, that letter to yourself, the getting rid of that limiting beliefs. That's why you go back to those classes. You do it again. Just because you graduated doesn't mean you're like, I'm good now. I did it, a year ago. I did it 6 months ago. But because you've changed, you've grown. So now you have new sets of limiting beliefs. You have new sets of obstacles. So you got to do it again and again. Right? And the thing is that the comfort zone, I call the comfort zone the dead zone. The identity that I have, the affirmation I have is just be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Enjoy being uncomfortable, embrace challenges, embrace like pressure. If you're thinking right now, oh, but I don't like pressure, or I'm not a high performer if there's pressure. Again, that's your limiting beliefs. Why can't you? You can change that. You can change that identity, change that mindset. Yes, celebrate overwhelm. This is what Seafood told us from the beginning of class 1. He's trying to help us change that mindset, change that identity. So where we define overwhelm, we define challenges, we define pressure, we define struggles as a positive thing, not a negative thing. Because nothing can make you feel, the thing itself can't make you feel something. We think, oh, but that made me feel depressed, that made me feel happy, that made me, it's not the things itself. I'm going off track a little bit, but I can still go. Because if it was, then everyone would feel the same exact way. But why does, let's say like rain, it's raining outside. Some people get depressed because it's gloomy, while, someone might be celebrating. They're like, wow, it's raining and it's so cool and fresh outside. Or if you're a farmer, they're in a drought, they'll be so happy and thankful that it's raining. So it's not the rain itself or anything that causes you to feel that way. It's the meaning we give to that thing that makes us believe that makes us feel positive or negative or neutral. It's what the meaning we give to that thing. So if you don't want to feel that way, we have to change the meaning, right? So change how you perceive things. Change the meaning you give things so that it serves you and it's a positive thing for you to move forward, instead of putting you in that lower self, putting you in that negative mindset, feeling hurt, feeling angry, feeling jealous. It's the perception is reality, like Cynthia said. So again, when you take that responsibility, it's a big responsibility. It's a huge responsibility when you take ownership and when you take responsibility, because now that burden is on all you. You can't blame anyone else. You can't blame others. You can't blame other things. You have that burden, but again, perception. I think of it as I have that freedom because I have the responsibility, I have the control. It's not, oh my God, how do I handle this? But it's because I have control, I can make a change. I can do something about it. So don't let yourself off the hook. Go after your goals aggressively. Be brutally honest. Don't let yourself off the hook. Every time you let yourself off the hook, every time you say, oh, it's okay. Oh, but yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Your integrity goes down, your discipline goes down, and your mind, you're subconsciously telling your mind that it's okay. Like, I don't need to achieve my goals. And I'm not saying you have to achieve every goal. I'm saying, what are those goals that you really want badly enough? And that's what I mean when I say how to achieve everything you want. You gotta put in the work. You gotta put in the struggle. And you have to set that, have a reward system, have a punishment system, build that discipline, build that self-discipline, delay that gratification. I don't know what exactly was called, but I'll share another story. It's about my favorite actor, actually. My favorite actor in Hollywood is Will Smith. And, he's obviously a great actor. He's amazing. But the big thing about him is, I think you guys seen his YouTube videos or his podcast where he talks about motivation. And it's just the way he perseveres, his work ethic, his passion for life and people. Just that honestly, that's why I love Will Smith. And he talks about outworking everybody, He's like, I will die on the treadmill. That's what he says. It's just his work ethic is, it's at a different level. And one of the story I heard about him is that, I don't know the exact name for it, but basically he doubled downs on his punishment. So let's say he's like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym every day. Let's say he doesn't go that one day because of whatever. He's not going to let himself off the hook and be like, okay, it's okay, tomorrow I can go to the gym. But he's going to go twice the next day. So if he missed the next day in a row, then he's going to go 3 times. So that's like a consequence, right? It motivates you because you're like, I'm not going to, oh my God, then I have to do double the work tomorrow. So might as well just get it done today. I think Sifu said this too. If you don't role play, yeah. If you don't role play 1 hour one of the day, do 2 hours the next day. If you don't do the next day, do 3 hours next. Again, like you have no one's gonna force you or make you do anything. You have to create that reward and punishment. Delaying gratification. There's things that we want to buy, things we want to do. That short-term gratification, but set that as a reward. Okay, once I achieve these tasks or this goal, then I'm going to do that. So when you keep that to yourself, when you make sure you do that, even if no one knows, that constantly builds that discipline in you, that integrity in you. Then your identity shifts and you say, I'm a person who can wait for gratification. I'm a person who's gonna get shit done first before I reward myself. And if I don't get shit done, then I'm gonna, put that consequence, put that punishment in me. Then that's the identity you develop. So I'm gonna tell another tip, actionable mindset tip that I use to take action, to be decisive and take action. What we procrastinate because we're like, oh, I need to do this, but blah blah blah. I need to do that, but even small things, right? So one of the things I have is I call it the 2-minute rule. So I call it the 2-minute rule. It's just 2 minutes, right? So if I say, oh shoot, I need to do this. Like let's say I need to take out clothes from my laundry, or I need to go organize my desk, whatever it is. When I say it, we say that all the time, like, oh, I need to do that. I need to do that. I need to do that. But we end up not doing it. So the 2-minute rule I have is, if that task that I say I need to do, or that I thought of in my head that I should do, it takes less than 2 minutes, then I just get up and do it at that moment. Because if it's gonna take less than 2 minutes, just do it, right? That develops your action mindset, that develops your habit of, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. So a trick is, if you have a bigger task, how do you break it down to 2 minutes, right? Then it's just like doing a bunch of 2-minute tasks. And then you realize it's been 30 minutes, it's been an hour, it's been 2 hours. Another way for that 2-minute rule you can apply is, let's say it's like, oh, I gotta write this paper, for some of you in school, or, oh, I should read this book. But then you're like, man, if I read that book, I need to block out 30 minutes, blah, blah, blah. No, say, I'm just gonna read for 2 minutes. I'm gonna write that paper for 2 minutes. I mean, if you want to set a timer for 2 minutes, set an alarm for 2 minutes and just do it. What's gonna happen after 2 minutes? What's going to happen? Most likely you're gonna keep going, right? Now you started that momentum. It's always the start that's the hardest. So you say, it's only 2 minutes. Okay, if I do 2 minutes, I'm gonna let myself off the hook. But once 2 minutes passes, it's like, you know what? I'm already in the zone. Might as well keep going. Or I'm into this book. This is interesting. I want to keep going. So that's a practical tip I can give you guys, the 2-minute rule. Hopefully that helped. And again, the identity, having that responsibility, identity, and achieving, going through challenges. One of the big tips is creating that environment. I'm gonna be very honest. I had a very lone wolf mindset. I'm very confident. Again, I took responsibility. So I think that's why I had the lone wolf mindset, because I believe, you know what? Okay, I can figure this out. I can research it and solve it. I can just figure it out and do it. And I'm sure a lot of you guys will relate. It's not even about lower self or being vulnerable, but it's just about, oh, I got this. I can figure it out myself. I don't need anyone's help. But one thing I realized is that, yes, maybe you can do it yourself, but if you have an environment, you be a team player, you utilize other people around you that can help you. You don't just get results faster, but it just feels better. It's not as lonely because you're sharing that with others. You're also letting others who want to help you, because they might be an expert at something and they want to help. I'm sure you guys want to help others. So when someone tells you, hey, I'm not sure how to do this, can you help me with this? And you help them and you see that improvement, I mean, that's the best feeling. Honestly, that is the best feeling because you provided value. So when you try to be a lone wolf, you're trying to outcast yourself and do everything by yourself. But when you can share that success, also share that struggle, and you allow others around you to help you, that like-minded people, the others that understand and can help you, you're not just getting results, but you're also helping others really, provide value to you. So it's selfish to say, well, I can figure it out myself, so I don't need to ask anyone, or I don't want to share this with anyone. That's a very lone wolf, selfish mindset. So, quick story. I had that lone wolf, and then I was struggling getting my first boom. I tried a lot of things myself to constantly put in work and improve. But the moment I really utilize others around me, people who are ahead of me, leaders around me, that's when my results exponentially grew. I'm not saying it wasn't growing when I was doing it myself, but the moment I tell myself that it's not just about me and it's not just about what I think I know and what I can figure out, but get the help from others. This is why we have these masterminds. Not everything I say is new. You know a lot of these things, but hearing a different perspective, at the right time, at the right opportunity, it's just something clicks. So, I'm learning while I'm sharing it with you guys. I can say, oh, I know this stuff, I can apply it in my life, but what's the point if I'm not giving back, providing value to others and see that it has an effect on others? That's contribution, right? That's the community. That's the environment that Sifu created for us, in this environment. So as I got more and more results, as I got more and more opportunities, and I became a leader, the thing was, I realized to be a good leader, you stop focusing on yourself, but you focus on others. I'm not here right now talking about like all this stuff and thinking like, oh, I need to say this correctly. I need to say it as well. How do I sound? How do I look? I'm just focused on providing value to you guys. I want you guys to achieve those goals. I want you guys to keep moving up to the next level. And that's being a team player. That's also being a leader, right? Focusing on others. And just never, ever give up. The only way to fail is giving up. Again, the perception. What is failure? Some people the lower self will come up. They'll be depressed. They'll like, this is not for me. But if you look at failure as feedback, you look at failure, it's inevitable. I'm going to tell you that right now. The truth is failure is inevitable, but give the positive meaning to failure. It's a lesson. It's feedback on how you need to pivot and keep moving forward. Oh, I tried this. This wasn't really effective. So let me try this, right? Share your failures with others and what you learn from it. And Sifu actually talked about this in the last class, so it's very appropriate because he said, underestimate how long it will take, to achieve your goals. It's really funny because I say that, but he brought it up this last class, and I was like, wow. Most people want instant gratification. I mean, why not, right? If we can get it fast, why not? But the reality is nothing in life is easy. Nothing in life is easy, but it's simple. You have clarity on your goals. You figure out what steps you need to take. You just do it. It's simple. You want to lose weight, you eat less than you expend, you work out and get stronger, right? It's simple, but why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for people to get those results? Even though it's not like a magic trick, it's not a hidden secret, it's all there. It's because it's easier not to do it, right? It's it's easy to lose weight, but why is it so difficult? Because it's easier to not go to the gym. It's easier to not eat those, fatty products or high calorie products or sugar or whatever it is. It's easier to make an excuse and not pick up that phone or send another email or go deeper with a prospect. It's easier to not do that, although you know exactly what you need to do. So you have to make that pain greater. And again, there's shortcuts. There's no shortcut to putting the work. There's no shortcut to going through the struggles. But there are shortcuts in getting to your goals. Again, surrounding yourself with the right people, the right mentor, learning from the right resources. But there's no shortcut to discipline. There's no shortcut to, accepting that you're gonna fail, accepting that you're gonna have to go through pain. So why is that so hard? Like why that lower self will always kick in? Like why is that so hard? It's the lower self.
Yes. I actually want to ask everyone, are you getting value out of this? Good. Now, Sam, I actually want to ask you because it seems like you never really struggle with lower self. And even when we had our conversation, you said that to me. Were you actually always like that?
So yes, I don't struggle with lower self that much nowadays, but it's not a natural thing, definitely. It's not, I wasn't always like that. I was a very shy boy growing up when I was really young. And then I also became very self-conscious and like sensitive, I would say. I didn't want to disappoint, or if someone says something negative, I try to like fix that relationship. And it was a process. It's just a process. But I think it's the mindset, it's the practice. And lower self, it's something, it's like a muscle where you can develop. But honestly, I wouldn't say it's something you need to develop. It's lower self and higher self. We all have it. Everyone has it. No one can say, I don't have lower self in me or I don't have higher self in me. Everyone has both. It's something you tap into. It's something you use. So you're not developing your higher self, but you're training to stay in your higher self. It's that default state where you're performing at your higher self most of the time instead of the lower self. So a lot of people, when they're completely honest to themselves, they might spend most of the day in their lower self, that negative conversation to themselves, that lower self telling them what to do or what not to do. And it's a habit. It's a training what you do. So when the thing is, you have to train yourself to stay in your higher self as the default state, and you have to crush that lower self before it grows and becomes that monster inside you that sabotages you before it grows.
Yes. Now, would you guys be interested to know how Sam overcomes his lower self? Yeah, so Sam, could you share with us how do you overcome your lower self or your lower self moments?
So like I said, you have to crush that lower self before it grows and sabotages you, goes to self-destruction. And then that happens. That's a reality. I've seen it personally, after I learned about this from Sifu, it's like I see it where someone who you wouldn't think so, but their lower self just overwhelmed them. So first thing is you have to know how to identify that, yeah, right there, self-awareness. You have to identify that, okay, this is my lower self talking, that this is not really me. So you have to understand the root cause of your hesitation or lower self. There's two things. There's fear or anxiety, right? And a lot of people think it's the same thing, fear, anxiety. But from what I understand, is fear is more of not being prepared or capable. So fear is because you aren't actually prepared or capable of doing something. So that's why you have the fear. But anxiety is not feeling prepared or capable. Okay? So there's one is anxiety is from feeling like you're not prepared or capable. Maybe you are capable, you are prepared, but you just feel like you aren't, versus fear where you're just actually, you don't have the skills, or you're not capable, or you're not prepared. So you have to know that root cause. And so when you have that lower self, you're hesitating to take action, you have that fear, you have that anxiety, you should. There's a saying, the mind, your mind is, oh my God, I have to remember what that thing was. It was something about your mind will give you all the questions. Your head will give you all the questions, but your brain, your heart has all the answers. So questions are in the mind, answers are in the heart. Okay? So in your heart, you know it, but your head is telling you, no, but you can't do this. No, that's not possible. No, you don't need this. Or it starts justifying. So when you identify that, one of the exercise I do in my head, or you can write it down, is the best case, worst case, and most probable. So first thing you write is, if I take this action, what is the best case scenario? So, if I just jump and take that action, what is the best case scenario? Second, what is the worst case scenario? And most times the worst case is not that bad. When we have fear, it boils down to, if you go deep enough, it's the fear of dying. You don't want to die. Like, that's the emotional response you get because you feel like you're gonna die. Anxiety too. But worst case scenario, it's not that bad. Yeah, you might lose some money. Yeah, you might be embarrassed. Yeah, you might get a slap in the face, whatever. But that's the worst case, which is pretty not likely either. So the third part is, what's the most probable? What is the most likely scenario? And most times that most likely scenario is probably closer to your best case than the worst case. So you have to be honest with yourself again and write that down. And again, take action. So another tactic, strategy I use is the third person view. You take yourself out of it. It's like advising a friend. When someone comes to you and they need advice, or they're having relationship problems or whatever, you're good at giving advice, right? You're like, oh no, you need to do this. Oh no, that's stupid. you gotta, you're being emotional. You're being crazy right now. Like that's not likely. Just do this, just do that. So what you do, but then when you are in that situation and your emotions are into you, you're like, but that's not possible. No, like I tried everything, right? So again, that's the second part, the third person view. You take yourself out of that situation in your mind. Imagine you're looking into that lower self mind. Let's say it's two different parts of your brain. Let's say the lower self and the higher self. I know that's not scientifically accurate, but you use that higher self, the observer, to observe what the lower self is saying, and imagine that's someone else, that's not you, and give the advice what they should do. So that's another tactic. So when that lower self brain is talking to you, you acknowledge it. You acknowledge, yeah, thanks for that opinion. Oh yeah, I hear you, but fuck you, I don't care. Like, don't accept it as you. Acknowledge it, but don't accept it. It's not who you are. It's your lower self talking to you. You are your higher self. You are meant to be your higher self. You are meant to perform. You're meant to go all out. So, some of more practical tactics that you should, I do to help with all these is, one of them is meditation. I think every successful person talks about meditation, but really practicing that mindfulness, being present. Because when we have anxiety, it's because of our future, something that we believe that something that hasn't happened yet is going to happen. That's where anxiety comes from. So being present, practicing mindfulness, being non-judgmental. Meditation isn't about not thinking about anything. You let your thoughts come in front of you, but you're not judgmental. You acknowledge it, but you don't accept it. So meditation is one of the big things. And you can do 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The moment you feel that lower self come, you do that. I mean, you don't have to do 30-minute meditation, 1 hour meditation. I don't even do 30-minute meditation. That's way too long for me, but I do a few minutes. And there's a lot of apps you can use to help too. So technology. Second thing is journaling. Just my method, I like to have like a template. I have, I believe great questions lead to great answers. So I have like a whole template of my journal, what I write. I answer those questions to myself every day at the end of the day. So not just, what did I do today? But I'm not going to share everything, but one of the things is, what is the worst thing that happened to me today? And then what is the best thing that happened to me today? So I'm identifying, okay, this is something that made me feel this way. This was something that wasn't good, but I'm letting it out on the paper. I'm not keeping it inside me. I accept that bad things will happen and it sucks, but hey, it's just part of it. And I'm also reminding myself, what is the best thing that happened? I talk about what I learned, what is something new I learned today? Because I believe you learn something new every day. What are 3 things I'm grateful for right now? Gratitude, of course. We all know attitude of gratitude. When you feel grateful, you can't feel fear. You can't feel anger. You can't feel sadness when you're truly grateful at the moment, in the present. So journaling is one of my methods too. Meditation, journaling. And it's just, if you constantly struggle with lower self most of the time, throughout your day, or a lot of your time, majority of your time, you need to change your default state again. The state we are most often in is our default state. So if you're always in a grateful state, that's your default state. Yeah, you're not going to feel 24/7, but that will be your default state. So same thing. You see, those people who are always angry, they're just always angry. Yeah, because that's their default state. That's their norm. So yeah, they won't be angry all the time, but that's their norm. So it's like, what is my default state? And what do I want my default state to be? You have to train to change it. So for me, it's high performance, being in zone, being in flow. That's the default state I want to be in. Being grateful, being optimistic, seeing opportunities, not complaining about the negativities. So you have to train that. And again, you're not going to be in that state 24/7, but when you feel that lower self talking, when you see that lower self growing, breaking out of that shell, again, do something physical. Action beats out thoughts. Do something crazy, pattern interrupt, jump around, start like barking, or like start doing push-ups. Like, then you're crushing that lower self before it gets bigger and bigger. Because when we've all felt like sad or depressed or emotional, and what do? You sit on your bed and you just stay there. You don't move. And what happens? It doesn't get resolved. It just gets bigger and bigger. And then you feel like shit because you didn't get anything productive done. So even if it's not, do something productive, just change your action, change your physiology, do something physical. When you sense that lower self coming, then it will distract that lower self, and that lower self will go back into a shell. That's how I see it. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we went through a lot of time. I'm just going to say, it's, to kind of wrap it up, I'll say knowing and understanding, emotional, like knowing and understanding, that's the mastery in your head. You learn from seafood. You went through the classes. You did the assignments. Yeah. But understanding it, knowing, that's the first step. But knowing is not enough. Even everything I talked about today, knowing is not enough. Now you know. That's the first step. But the second step is emotional mastery. You have to feel it. You have to embrace it, feel it in your body, like those consequences, those rewards. Then that's when you're trying to put it into your identity. You feel it. And then the last part is physical mastery. You just gotta do it. You gotta do it consistently. And when you embody it and it becomes your own, it becomes your physiology, that is your that is when it becomes truly your identity, when you are mastering, because you can do it unconsciously. So it's that, cognitive mastery, understanding it, emotional mastery, feeling it, and physical mastery, where you embrace it, embody it, and that's just part of your identity. So yeah, I mean, there's the thing, like one of the things that, we talk about, Sarge talks about internal sales is GWC. Do you get it? Do you want it? Can you do it? So get it, want it, can you do it? And it's not like, oh yeah, I get it, I want it. Okay, now getting it, it's you really, really have to get it. You get to get the purpose. You have to understand, like closing too, you have to get it. Why do we dig into pain? Why do we use reverse psychology? Why does this work? That's getting it. Wanting it, now we know, right? Wanting it badly enough. Not just saying I want it. Oh yeah, I want that. And can do it. That's the skill, that's the mastery, like I just talked about. So and it's just, in the end, the lower self, I'll just say, fuck how you feel. You just do what you gotta do. I think that will answer my question to you, Dana. Just my method is fuck how I feel. I do what I need to do. It's the thought is what creates the feeling. It's not the feeling that creates the thoughts. Okay? So focus on your thoughts. The thought is the most important thing. And feeling, I like the quote I read online. It says, feeling is what you get for thinking the way you do. So feeling is what you get for thinking the way you do. So when people say, oh, I'm not really logical, I'm very emotional, the emotions came because of your thoughts. So that thought has to change to create the positive feelings, the powerful feelings, and that will create your actions or inaction, whether it's focusing on what you need to do, not doing the things you shouldn't do, not doing the things you shouldn't get, that's deterring you from your goals. And the result, that's the effect, the result. So it's not about focusing on the end goal. It's focusing on the process, enjoying every step of the way, doing what you need to do.
Yes, that's so true. All right, we are almost 1.5 hours in. Now, Sam, was there anything more you would like to share still with the students before we hop on to the Q&A section? You still have
Well, how much time do I have?
a little less than 10 minutes because we want to make sure everyone gets their answers, their questions answered, of course.
All right, I'm gonna share something really quick that I think is very important. Since you guys graduated, and a lot of you guys are in inner circle, a lot of you guys from season 13, you guys are new. So yeah, I want to share this. I said GWC earlier, right? Get it, want it, can do it. That's very big internally in TDL, where that's what they look for. Do you get it? Do you want it? Can you do it? And there's the other thing that we look for is the 6 core principles of Team Danlock. The 6 core principles of Team Danlock. I'm sure some of you guys might know.
Yeah, actually, let them put them in the comments. Who knows it? Let's see in the comments. If you were at CIB, you definitely have heard it. For those of you who weren't there, don't worry. There will be another one. Yes, I see it.
Nice. Okay, so I'm not going to go deep into all of them, but I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? We all have values. We all have principles that we follow, and that's all good. This is what Team Danlock, preaches. And this is what we need in order to be A players in Team Danlock or even work with Sifu. But I would say this just covers everything in your life. So I'll say, write this down. I always say, write it in a Post-it, put it in front of you. So you are always reminding yourself. First one's loyalty, right? Are you loyal to Sifu or, and personally to your goals, to others, integrity, again, right? Loyalty, right? Harmony. Do you get along with others? Are you a team player or are you a lone wolf doing things by yourself and you cause drama, you cause problems? Because we don't care if you're great, you get results. But if you don't have harmony, you can't work with others, right? Third one, extreme ownership, right? That's taking responsibility, owning up to your mistakes, owning up to your successes, doing, taking that response. I am the only problem, I'm the only solution, right? High performance, that speaks for itself, results, right? And it's not just results, it's those daily actions, those habits. Are you role playing? Are you showing up to class? Are you giving value? That's all high performance because that's all directly related to your results. client success, not just the prospect in your conversation, in your call. Yes, that's the client success, but even your influencer, even your teammates, even Sifu, that's my client, right? I'm not an employee. I work with him. So to me, I want him to succeed. And I want the people I close to succeed. I don't want to just talk to them once and be like, bye-bye and good luck. No, I want them to succeed. That's the mindset I have. So that's the principle. And then constant improvement. Again, doing what you need to do to keep going better and better, keep getting better. I would say put all 6 of that in front of you, write it down. Always remind yourself, am I displaying every single one? And again, brutally honest to yourself. And if you're not, then the question is, how do I make sure I embody this principle into my life, into my actions, into my mind, and just have that, not just getting it, but emotional and physical mastery, right? So it's, who do I need to be? This is the answer. 6 core principles and GWC. That's the exact questions for who do I need to be. So now it's just about taking the action and doing it.
Exactly. Okay. So that wraps it up for this mastermind. We will hop onto the Q&A section right now. So if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the Q&A section within Zoom. Make sure you put your first and last name. That way we know who to address. And let's see the first question. Okay, I don't see any questions yet, so make sure you put them in there. I'll give you some time to type it out. But to make sure.
Anything you guys aren't clear about what I talked about too, I'll be happy to clarify. I was going through it pretty fast because I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, we only have a limited time today, so if you have any questions for Sam, if you would like to get some more clarity on something that he has talked about today, feel free to put it in the chat. Everyone's already congratulating you. That's the word. Okay, I see here a question from Edward. How does one increase their own self-awareness?
How does one increase their own self-awareness? For me, it's hard because I was pretty self-aware, I believe, but it's, again, being completely honest to yourself, right? You can have ambitious goals, but it's really being honest to yourself. If you say, like, having a mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna be the best, or I am the best is one thing, but really being honest to yourself. And I guess one way with that, for that to be, is getting feedback from others who you really trust. It might be constructive criticism, it might not be positive, but our lower self, we want to deny that, right? We'll say, oh, that's bullshit, but again, not just from anyone, because there's a lot of bullshit around, but the people that really you trust and that are capable, and you want to get feedback from them, even if you don't like the idea. Like, think of role plays. Same thing. I said this last time. Get feedback from people who are good. Not every feedback might be good. Not every feedback might be right. But again, if you become more and more self-aware, you also know how to filter that. You know how to, know like, okay, this is something I really need to improve on, or I need to work on. And, someone you look up to, someone you respect, someone you trust, because we don't like to hear negative things from people we don't trust, or we don't like, or we don't respect. So choose the people who not because they'll say something good, but because they'll give you honest, straight up feedback, that they can read you and they know you, and they're able to do that. And if you don't agree, then maybe there's a problem with self-awareness, right? Then you got to really realize, okay, why did I not see that? What are my blind spots? So again, having mentor, having others around you that you respect, I think that's big.
I'm actually going to ask something to everyone who is in the mastermind right now, because Sam had prepared something else for you guys, a not really an assignment, but he was going to talk about the success cycle. And since there are not many questions within the Q&A section, oh, now they are. Would you guys be interested to know a bit more about that? We only have limited time, so either it's Sam is going to answer your questions or he's going to go deep on the success cycle. I think everyone is really pumped up for the success cycle. So Sam, if you are willing to still do that.
Yeah, I can do that really quickly because yeah, that kind of wraps up everything I've talked about. But let me get the whiteboard. Can I use the whiteboard?
Yes, you can. I will stop sharing my screen right now.
I don't see the whiteboard. Uh-oh. Is it because I'm co-host?
I will make you a host right now.
Yeah, try make me host.
Go ahead.
Wow, I don't see it. What's going on? It was there before. Maybe it's because it's okay. So I can't draw it out, but I'll explain it. Okay. And I want you guys to actually draw it then. I was planning to draw it out, but so this is called a success cycle. And it really wraps up everything that I talked about today. And basically draw 4 separate boxes. Let's say like 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. Okay. So 4 boxes. Do you see the whiteboard? Dana?
I'm looking, just a second. When I'm sharing. No.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Unfortunately.
So there's 4 boxes. All right. So let's say left top, right bottom, left bottom. Now the first box, left top, is you want to put what was I going to say? You're going to put potential. Okay. So it's potential. The next box, the right top, you want to put action. The right bottom, results. And then the left bottom is certainty/belief. So this really wraps up everything I've talked about. So you have potential, action, results, and certainty, belief, right? Now you're drawing an arrow. So, like an arrow into a circle. So potential to action, it's an arrow. Action to results, it's an arrow. Results to certainty, belief, it's an arrow. And certainty, belief comes back into potential. Okay, so it's like a direction, right? So you have arrows. So basically, it's very straightforward. The more, the potential results into action, the action results into the actual results, and your results create that confidence, boost that self-esteem, or it can do negative too if you get negative results. So that affects your certainty/belief. And when that certainty and belief gets affected, your potential gets affected too. So if you struggle with lower self, we talked about that earlier. If you struggle with lower self, where does the issue lie? Which box would you say? Which one would you say? If you struggle with lower certainty, belief, right? Yes, that's correct. So certainty, belief. And if that certainty, belief is affected, again, that potential is going to directly be affected. You're going to think, oh, I'm weak. I can't do this. I'm powerless. Like, I'm not capable of doing this. Then you're never going to reach close to your potential because you're not going to put in the work, put in the action. So we talked about GWC, get it, want it, can do it. So which arrow, so which step do you think get it would fall under? Getting it, get it. Which arrow would it fall under? From what step to what step? So I would say it's certainty to potential, right? Because you have to actually get it. Even like lower self, you have to get it that it's your lower self talking, that you have to crush it. So it's the certainty to believe. If you get it, certainty to potential. You crush it before and you get it. You know what you're supposed to do. You know your potential. You're performing on your high potential, your higher self. So want it for GWC, want it. Where does that go to? Which arrow? potential to action. Edward, yeah, you got it. That's what we talked about the whole first 30 minutes, right? Potential to action. Because how badly do you want it? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to struggle through? And then can do it. Where would that fall under? Action to results. Correct. Right? So I want you to write that next to the arrows. Get it is certainty to potential. Want it is potential to action. Can do it is action to results. And you need to have all three. It's not like you can have one part and not the others. So from the 6 core values, harmony, loyalty, okay, that's pretty straightforward. But let's say constant improvement, where would that fall under? I would say that's certainty to potential too, the belief to potential, because when you constantly improve, your potential goes up, your confidence in your potential goes up. And then high performance would go into action to results, right? Action to results, high performance. Extreme ownership would go from results to belief. Because whether it's good results or bad results, whether it's failures, you're not saying I can't do this. You're not letting your lower self talk to you, but you're taking extreme ownership. You took responsibility and you own up to the results, and your certainty and belief is still continually growing. So I'm gonna add one other thing into each boxes. So as A players, high performers, we're not satisfied staying at the same level, right? Every cycle, we want to improve and improve. We don't want to stay in the same level, of course, right? So we have to increase our potential. And I don't know how many of you guys were in CIB last year, but Sifu said it in CIB. Do you guys know what Sifu said breakthrough is? What the meaning of breakthrough is? So I don't think anyone remembers. So I'll say, he said breakthrough is when the impossible becomes possible, right? Like the 4-minute mile, like, the story, the Cunningham story that Dana shared earlier. It's the impossible becomes possible. So I want you to write right before potential in the box, put breakthrough potential. Breakthrough potential. I want to increase this, right? It's just not potential, action, results, certainty, but it's breakthrough potential, because you want to go to that next level. You're making the impossible become possible. You're growing. Next, massive action. Massive action. That's pretty straightforward. Massive action. Going through that struggle, wanting to go through that pain. And if you take massive action because you have breakthrough potential, what kind of results would that lead to? From massive action to massive results, right? Massive action will lead to massive results. So put massive results. And then when you take massive action, you get massive results. What's that going to do to your certainty and belief? What kind of certainty and belief will it give you? I call it the unshakable certainty, unshakable belief. Right? So unshakable certainty and belief. You don't let other things affect you, affect your belief, affect your mindset. But naturally, because you get those results, you get those feedback, your certainty and belief will get stronger and stronger. It will grow, and you're constantly improving yourself. So you will get, what happens after that? Breakthrough potential, right? So it's a cycle. So another thing that Sifu said at CIB about belief was, a belief is a thought or idea that you hold about yourself or the world around you that you accept to be a statement of fact. I'm going to say that again. Someone type it out. A belief is a thought or idea that you hold about yourself or the world around you that you accept to be a statement of fact.
Can you say that one more time?
A belief is a thought or idea that you hold about yourself or the world around you that you accept to be a statement of fact. Now that's unshakable belief, right? When you can take that idea or thought, going back to again, thought, idea creates feelings and creates action. Thought into a statement of fact. You make it your reality in your head, even if it's not actually a reality to others or reality in the world. You make it a reality. You make it a statement of fact. That's unshakable certainty and belief. And if you really have that, of course, you have breakthrough potential and you're going to take massive action and get massive results. Or, I mean, you can't say you have unshakable belief or you have something as a statement of fact if you're not going to get that potential and actually take action. Then that's not, you don't really believe it and you don't really want it. So that's the cycle. It's a constant cycle. And I hope that helped you visualize it better. And was today's session helpful, guys?
Was it helpful? Did you guys learn something new today?
Yeah, maybe one or two, right?
And actually, Sam has a assignment for you that he would like to share as well. Are you still up for that, Sam?
Yeah, definitely. Going
Okay,
back,
here we go.
I know we ran through it earlier yesterday. So, this assignment, you don't have to put it on Facebook if you don't want to. Maybe one or two of them, maybe the Y letter, you want to put it on there. If you wanted to make it a declaration, you want to be held accountable, right? But I still strongly suggest you do it for yourself. Block out some time and really be honest to yourself. So it's the first thing we did, right? The Warren Buffett pilot story. Figure out your most important goals, the 25-5 rule. Whether it's 10 goals you wrote and you select 2, 15 goals and select 3, you can do any time frame. You can do a month goal, 6-month goal, 1-year goal, 5-year goal, whatever it is. But select those top 3, top 5. Get rid of everything else. Avoid at all costs. It's gonna be tough. Avoid at all costs. Laser beam focus. How badly do you want it? And how are you going to turn those goals, that wants, into a must? Write it out. Each goal. How are you going to turn these into a must? I shared a lot of strategy tactics for that too. So, go back and listen to the replay if you have to. Number 3, what are the pain and struggles I want to sustain in order to achieve each of these goals? Like, embrace challenges. Embrace the struggle. I want to sustain these. I want to achieve this. And then, of course, my deep why letter. I listed out the questions earlier. You can listen to the replay if you want to get more details. But yeah, don't just write, oh, my why is because of go levels deep. Take a break, come back, read it again. Really reflect on it, meditate on it, and really go, what is that why? What is your purpose? What is your mission? Why do you need to make this happen? And even if you don't post these assignments into Facebook, we would love to see you guys share what your top takeaways are, but not just the takeaways. I want you to, if you put 3 takeaways for each one, I want you to write how you're going to implement this into your life immediately. So, hey, that thing was, that was a big takeaway for me. That was a big aha moment. Now, how are you going to actually take action on that? Write it up and share it with us. Tag me, tag Dana, #mastermind. I would love to read it, watch your video, but share. Because again, it's not just keeping yourself accountable through the community, but it's really giving back to others and you sharing things that in your perspective and helping others, learn from that too. We have a lot of people that's not here. So that's all I have, Dana.
Okay, yes, and as Sam says, you can do these assignments, you can keep it for yourself or share it with the community, whatever you want, but do make sure you post your takeaways within the Facebook group with the hashtag mastermind. That way we know it's from the mastermind, and feel free to tag either Sam or me or both of us within your post. That way we definitely will see it. And before we actually wrap this up, I quickly want to thank you, Sam, for coming on a second time and for again providing us with your knowledge. And also, I want to thank you for being here tonight. And hopefully, you have learned something new. And as I said, don't forget right after this mastermind to go into the Facebook group and post your takeaways. Now, before we go, Sam, do you have any last words you would like to share with the family?
Yeah, I covered a lot of things. I hope some of you guys at least took a lot of notes. I really wanted to share as much as possible in that short amount of time. I know I went longer than a lot of different people, but you know, for season 14 students, congratulations on graduating. You made it this far. A lot of overwhelm, but I mean, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. It's been almost a year and a half since I graduated, but I've hit a lot of milestones, my goals, but it's just the beginning to me. I want to go through the struggles. I want to go through the pain. And, I see members too, that's all here. Keep working, keep improving. Remember the 6 core values. And I just want to end it with
you are a high ticket closer.
Boom! Yeah, so that is it for today's mastermind. Thank you all for coming, and we will be seeing you on Facebook.